Studios, and this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Let me say that one more time. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Make your next thing a big one. I like to party all the time, party all the time. This week's shows I have, on Friday night, I'll be at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. That's my one public show right now as we're breaking out of quarantine. It's the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. Always a good time at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. So if you're anywhere in the area, really, you got till Friday night. So I'll wait. We got time. You can take a jet plane, helicopter, camel, whatever. Why did I say camel? I feel like it's hump day, but it's only Sunday. All right, party people. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Sunday, August 16th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, FDA authorizes potentially pandemic-changing saliva test. The Food and Drug Administration on Saturday issued an emergency use authorization for the Saliva Direct COVID-19 diagnostic test developed by the Yale School of Public Health in partnership with the National Basketball Association. The test processes saliva to rapidly determine whether a person has been infected with the coronavirus and does not require any type of swab or specific collection device. Andy Slavitt, a former acting administrator for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services under the Obama administration, said the test has a chance to become one of the first, quote, major game changers in fighting the pandemic. End quote. He praised the physical comfort level of the test as well as its affordability, turnaround time, and accuracy, noting that it could come in handy for schools, universities, and office buildings. This is according to The Week and the Food and Drug Administration. Number 2, South Korea, New Zealand see upticks in coronavirus cases. 2 of the countries that have had the most success containing the coronavirus are experiencing new flare-ups. South Korea on Sunday reported 279 new confirmed infections, the highest 24-hour jump since early March. The vast majority of the cases came in from the Seoul metropolitan area. The Korean Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said health authorities have reportedly struggled to curb transmission linked to churches, nursing homes, schools, and restaurants in the country's largest city and capital. In New Zealand, which did not report a non-travel related case for 102 days, reported 13 new infections Sunday, bringing the country's number of active cases up to 69. Most of the cases were from community transmission and are linked to a cluster in Auckland, which is under a new lockdown. This is according to the Associated Press and The Guardian. Number 3, Trump's younger brother dies at 71. President Trump's younger brother, Robert Trump, died Saturday. The president announced in a statement he was 71. The younger Trump, whom the president described as his, quote, best friend, end quote, had reportedly been suffering from a serious but undisclosed illness for several months. President Trump went to visit his brother at a New York City hospital on Friday and did not provide details about his condition other than telling reporters, quote, he's having a rough time, end quote. Robert Trump, a former top executive at the Trump Organization, was one of 4 siblings to the president, including the late Fred Trump Jr., the president's 2 older sisters, Marianne Trump Barry and Elizabeth Trump Grau, are still living. This is according to The Hill and CNN. Number 4, Trump plans unilateral move to reinstate Iran sanctions after UN defeat. President Trump said on Saturday that, quote, we knew, end quote, what the result of the United Nations Security Council vote on the United States bid to extend a global arms embargo on Iran would be, and the White House is prepared to respond to the resounding defeat. Quote, we'll be doing a snapback, end quote, he said. Quote, you'll be watching it next week, end quote. Only the Dominican Republic backed the U.S. efforts to renew the embargo, which is set to expire in October under the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. U.S. allies like the United Kingdom, France, Germany abstained, leaving the Trump administration to try to trigger sanctions on Tehran unilaterally through a provision in the 2015 deal that would, quote, snap back, end quote, the penalties into place. The U.S.'s European allies are skeptical that will work. However, since Trump withdrew from the deal. This is according to the Wall Street Journal and The Guardian. Number 5, Russia prepared to offer Belarus military assistance. The Kremlin on Sunday said Russian President Vladimir Putin told his Belarusian counterpart Alexander Lukashenko that Moscow was ready to offer Minsk military assistance if necessary to quell anti-government protest in Belarus. Russia also said external pressure was being applied to the country, but did not say from where. The announcement comes after Lukashenko appealed to his longtime ally in the wake of demonstrations calling for his resignation after a disputed presidential election victory. Lukashenko has been in power for 26 years, but the so-called, quote, last dictator in Europe, end quote, is facing one of the most serious challenges to his reign yet. The relationship between Lukashenko and Putin has been more precarious than usual lately, with the former eschewing? Okay, I haven't read that word in a while. Eschewing deeper economic and political ties with Moscow. But Russia reportedly fears Belarus leaving its sphere of influence. This is according to BBC and Reuters. Number 6, Trump to deliver remarks critical of Biden before DNC acceptance speech. President Trump's re-election campaign on Saturday announced the president will deliver remarks next Thursday on, quote, Joe Biden's record of failure, end quote, just hours before Biden, a former vice president and the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, is scheduled to give his acceptance speech at the mostly virtual Democratic National Convention. Trump's address will take place in Old Forge, Pennsylvania, just a few miles outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania, which happens to be Biden's birthplace and early childhood hometown. Pennsylvania is considered a crucial swing state. Trump narrowly won the state over Hillary Clinton in 2016, but several polls show him trailing Biden there ahead of November's contest. This is according to ABC News and CNN. Number 7, Israel eyes additional agreements after phone service with UAE launches. Telephone service between Israel and the United Arab Emirates began working Sunday, and several Israeli news sites had been blocked by UAE authorities and can now be accessed after the two sides reached a U.S. brokered deal to open diplomatic ties. The historic accord was viewed by many as a foreign policy victory stateside, but Palestinians believe it jeopardizes the chances of finding a long-term resolution to the Middle East conflict. Regardless, Israeli intelligence minister Eli Cohen said Sunday the country is expecting additional agreements with other countries in the Arabian Gulf and Africa, including Bahrain, Oman, and Sudan. Bahrain and Oman praised the Israel-UAE deal, but have not yet commented on the possibility of normalizing their own relations with Jerusalem. This is according to the Associated Press and Reuters. Number 8, extreme heat, fire continue to plague California. Searing heat and wildfires continue to plague California on Saturday, with the former prompting another round of rolling blackouts in parts of the state to help relieve the larger grid. The heat wave that is expected to affect most Western states through next week is one of the most intense in years. Meanwhile, the explosive Loyalton fire north of Lake Tahoe has burned through about 20,000 acres and is only 5% contained. On Saturday, it formed into a rare phenomenon known as a fire tornado, which the National Weather Service called, quote, extremely dangerous fire behavior, end quote. Mandatory evacuations are in place for 3 counties in the surrounding area as the blaze continues to burn. This is according to Fox News and the Los Angeles Times. Number 9, U.S. South Korea begins scaled down joint drills. South Korea and the United States will begin joint military exercises this week. The drills are an annual affair, but this year's event comes with several layers of added controversy. The two countries had to cancel their springtime exercises because of the coronavirus pandemic, and now South Korea is dealing with another outbreak. The drills will go ahead, but they'll be scaled back. Even before the pandemic, President Trump had suspended large-scale field training after growing wary of the cost of maintaining U.S. troops in South Korea. Still, even when scaled down, the exercises could anger North Korea, which has long viewed the joint training as invasion rehearsals. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 10, former Illinois Governor James Thompson dies at 84. Former Illinois Governor James Thompson, Republican, died Friday night. He was 84. Thompson, known as Big Jim, was the state's longest-serving governor, which the New York Times attributes to his fondness for campaigning and, quote, uncanny understanding, end quote, of Illinois' politics. He was the first elected governor in 1976 and he was first elected governor in 1976 and was reelected to 4 consecutive terms, ending his run in 1991. Thompson was considered a moderate Republican, and several Illinois Democrats sung his praises while remembering him this weekend. Senator Dick Durbin, the Democrat Illinois, said he and Thompson were, quote, political adversaries, yet personal friends, end quote. And current Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Democrat, said his predecessor, quote, set an example for public service of which Illinoisans should be proud, end quote. This is according to CNN and the New York Times. That's 10 things you need to know today for Sunday, August 16th, 2020. Incidentally, it's also 43 years since the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, died. He would have been, 85 years old today. Oh, no, 85 years old right now. His birthday's in January 8th. But he died 43 years, 3 years ago today. So play some Elvis songs, and I think I'm going to as well. Kind of one of the reasons I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt. I know he was very fond of Hawaii, even though he was born in Tupelo, Mississippi, and died in Memphis, Tennessee, at his home in Graceland. On this date in history, 1977, August 16th. Yeah, I was aware of it. My grandmother was a real fan of Elvis Presley, and I still have. I got a chance to spend some time. Well, I visited Graceland several times, but I spent a night at the Heartbreak Hotel, which was across the street. I think it burned down. I kept a key to the Heartbreak Hotel. In fact, I kept 2 keys. I told the lady at the front desk, I'm going to keep this key because it was a real key. And it said Lonely Street on one side, and then it said the Heartbreak Hotel on the other side, room 223. It was dressed up like the jungle room in Graceland. So yeah, I have some fond memories of Elvis, but I think it came from a love that my grandmother has. She still has a great love for Elvis. So yes, long live the king. The king is dead. Long live the king. Elvis Presley's death day today, August 16th, 1977. All right. I usually don't editorialize these things, but I thought that was very poignant. Elvis has played a very big part of my life. He's affected affected the ways that I do things. As well, I'm sure he's affected the way a lot of people have done things. There's been I don't know if it's actually a battle. Who were the kings? Was it Elvis or was it the Beatles? I like them both, but today I remember Elvis. All right, party people. Hey, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. But for today, this is What Makes You Smarter. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.